Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tom Clark over at TFCIV MMA. Hopefully, everyone had an awesome weekend. What a card we had, guys. UFC 285, the return of the GOAT, Johnny Bones Jones, co-main by Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso, and boy, did it deliver. I just got home within the last half an hour or so, flying back from Vegas today. One of the greatest weekends of my life. The atmosphere in the T-Mobile Arena was electric. We had 20,000 people, sold out crowd. Tom Brady, Conor McGregor, plenty of other fighters in the building. Just one of the best. I've been to some fights. That was the best atmosphere, hands down. And the GOAT does what GOATs do and gets a victory in dominant performance. John Jones was already the greatest fighter of all time. That made it undeniable for his haters, for his critics. There's no debate anymore. You can't even mention it. When it is greatest of all time, it's John Jones and everybody else. It's just how it is. And it was awesome to see it. I'm a big John Jones guy. You guys know that, so I really enjoyed it. It was good. You could see how emotional it was for him to get that win. And he had said it all week. He said, I'm going to go in there and make this look easy. Cyril's an incomplete fighter. This is a mismatch. And I was confident in John Jones. I bet a lot of money on John Jones. I won money off John Jones. I did not think he'd make it look that easy. It was a phenomenal performance. But we'll get to that fight later on. We're going to start at the first fight of the card. We had Radzhabov versus Rybovits, and Radzhabov with a decent performance. I'm not going to say it's great because he was getting pieced up a little bit on the feet by his opponent, but clearly had the grappling advantage and was able to win the fight based off that. Fight went to decision, wasn't super entertaining. There were some great moments where they were going back and forth, slugging it out, both hitting each other, but Radzhabov's wrestling won him the fight via unanimous decision. So a good win on his part, and in a fight like this, where you're on this big of a stage, a win is a win, and you got to be very happy for it. Staying along that same kind of criteria of a win is a win, not super impressive, but gets it done. Fareed Basharat, the younger brother Basharat, got the win over Damone Blackshear. Obviously, two great corners in this one. Basharat's over at Extreme Couture, had Dewey Cooper, Jake Shields in the corner. Blackshear had Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn. So lots of great coaches in this fight. But Bosharat was able to get the decision nod. He did win rounds 1 and 2, whereas Blackshear got the third round on all three judges' scorecards. But not the most entertaining fight, but some good moments. Blackshear really almost pulled this one out at the end. He locked in a triangle where if he had locked it in maybe 30 seconds to a minute sooner, he would have had his hand raised via submission because it was tight. But the clock expired and Bosharat gets the decision win. So good performance there. His brother's been very good in the UFC, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. So obviously, both those guys over at Extreme Couture. So they got all the assets, got all the coaches. So hopefully they can make something work with it. Next fight was one very good. We had Tabitha Baby Shark Ritchie going out there. We all love Tabitha Ritchie, and she was going up against Jessica Penne. Tabitha is known for a phenomenal grappling, a great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist practitioner, and she used that very well in this fight. She had a phenomenal toss to get Penne down in the second round, where she ended up finishing it with a flawless armbar. But even in the first round, was able to get Penne down, landed some leg kicks. Wasn't the most exciting round, but it was a dominant one for Tabitha Ritchie. And then to get the submission in the second, very good to see from a prospect that a lot of us are very high on. And she showed her phenomenal jiu-jitsu. Very slick on the ground, locked up that armbar very quickly and got the finish. So very impressed with her. The next fight, one of the guys I was real excited to watch. I've told you guys before, I'm very high on Cameron Simon, only 22 years old and making his second fight in the UFC after a win back in December, fighting on the same card as DDP this time around, just like he did in December. So good to have both the South Africans there. And he had a good performance over Mana Martinez. Obviously, the point deduction in the first round did him no favors, so it was a majority decision because one of the judges did have it as a draw, but the other two gave it to Simon, which I agree. He was very dominant in those last two rounds, felt the sense of urgency, and got it done like he needed to. So for a 22-year-old to kind of go through that adversity, two fights in a row where you're getting the point deducted, and you say, hey, I either need to finish this or go balls to the walls and get it really going. And Cameron Simon's done that 2 times in a row. So very impressive performance by him there. And I can't wait to see what's next for him and Dricus. But we'll get into Dricus' fight later on because that was a little higher up on the card. After the Simon fight, we had Ian, the future Gary, out of Ireland. Obviously, you guys know I love Ian Gary, so it was good to see him fight live again. I saw him fight live last year, now this year, and he was going up against Kenan Song. And in the first round, it did not look good for Ian Gary. He got dropped. He was very hurt. Kenan got his back, but didn't do much with it. Ian Gary was kind of able to survive past the first round. And the momentum was in Song's favor. But in the second round, Ian Gary really came out, kind of styled on him, landed a lot of great combinations, a lot of great 1-2s, all that kind of good stuff. Ducking well, going with it. Just the flow was looking impeccable. And then does get the knockout in the later rounds. I don't know if you guys saw Song's eye. It was disgusting. Oh my goodness. Ian Gary really put a beating on him. And just another good performance there. Was happy to see Ian Gary get a finish because as much as I like him, I almost feel like he had coasted a little bit in some of his recent fights where he got the decision win but wasn't the most impressive. But awesome knockout here. Went through some adversity, so was very happy to see that. And a great win by Ian, the future Gary. After that, we had Baralt versus Julian Marquez. Marquez came out, won the first round, and was looking pretty good in the second round until he wasn't. He gassed out, and Baralt landed so many shots. I mean, this fight could have been stopped 2 minutes before it was actually stopped. The ref gave Julian Marquez every opportunity to try and defend the shots and get something going, but just couldn't. Didn't have his mouthpiece in for any of those shots either, so that's not something you like to see. You don't want these guys taking huge damage. But he gave him up every opportunity to go out on his shield, and Julian Marquez did. He ate a lot of big shots, but wasn't able to get it going. But a good win from Baralt, Canadian guy there. I know a lot of fans in Canada are wanting the UFC to go back there. So anytime these Canadians are getting wins, they're very excited for that. So good win there. And then we go to the women's division for the next one. We had Amanda Hebas versus versus Viviana Rujao. And a great performance by Amanda Hebas on this one. Got the 10-8 in the second round, I believe it was, where she dropped her and used great ground control and just a dominant performance on her part. Not much else to be said. Vivian did catch her in a guillotine, and that was very tight. But Amanda was able to work well, work her way out of it, and get things going. And just a great performance on her part. Will be interesting to see what they do with her now, who they match her up with. A lot of good matchups at 125, so I'm excited to see where they go from here for it. After that, we had my man Dricus du Plessis versus Derek Brunson. This was a fight a lot of us thought was going to be on the main card because DDP's very entertaining. Brunson's a guy that's been around forever. Both big names in the middleweight division. And both kind of questionable gas tanks. And I know I'm no person to say that, but DDP has this thing where he goes out, he looks gassed, and then he just finds a second win. It's kind of wild. We've seen it now in 2 fights. He looked gassed in the second round against Till, got a second win in the third, and was able to finish him. And in this fight, looked very gassed in the first. Derek Brunson caught him with some shots in the first and the second. But DDP takes control in the second, and then the corner ends up throwing the towel because he was on top laying some big haymakers, and at the end of the round, Brunson couldn't even stand up. So his corner did what they should, threw in the towel, and I think that may be a career for Derek Brunson based off what I saw him posting on Twitter. It'll be interesting to see because we all love Derek Brunson. Blonde Brunson, got the pose, all of that. We all love him. So if it is a career, it's been an honor to watch him fight. If it isn't, I'm excited to see what's next. But it is what it is. A next fight, one that I wish we could almost forget about. We had Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones, and this fight was a dud, guys. I get it from Cody Garbrandt's perspective. You've been knocked out brutally in a lot of your recent fights, so you do not want to get knocked out, so you fight conservative. But it was a dud. It was a very boring fight. But Cody was able to bag the first 2 rounds. Trevin Jones did end up winning the third, but not enough to get him the fight. So unanimous decision, Cody Garbrandt. Not much else to be said about that one. And that ended off the prelims for us. They shot a big old scene for Roadhouse there in the arena. Who knows? I was by the fence on one, but maybe my face will be in the movie. I don't know. An ugly guy like me, they may edit me out, but we'll see. Go to the main card. Bo Nickel versus Jamie Pickett to start it out. And Jamie Pickett did a little bit better than I was expecting, to be honest. He stuffed a lot of the takedowns early on in the fight. And then, obviously, a lot of controversy with this one, too. Once Bo Nickel did get him down, right before he took him down, there was a clear knee to the groin area. So Jamie Pickett's team was even mentioning, we're going to challenge us. We're going to the commission. This needs to be a no contest. And we know how things go. Usually, when you go to a commission, it's great, but they're not really going to change anything. But this was a very clear nut shot, so I can see why Jamie Pickett's upset. I met him the night before the fight. He was telling everyone, I'm going to shock the world. So his confidence was through the roof. And he looked good in the first couple minutes, stuffing all of Bo's takedowns. So it was going to be interesting. I'm kind of bummed the fight ended how it did with that nut shot, but Bo Nickel, just show how strong he is, didn't even have the choke lined up semi-correctly and was able to get the tap out. So very impressive performance in the UFC debut for Bo. And then in the next fight, we got to give credit to both of these guys. First of all, Jalen Turner was supposed to fight a striker in Dan Hooker, and then he takes one of the best grapplers in the division, Mateusz Gamrot, on short notice. And then Mateusz Gamrot, he comes off the couch in 10 days and fights a killer like Jalen Turner. So this fight was great, but even if it wasn't, both of these guys deserve tremendous respect for putting this fight on such short terms. Turner taking the big stylistic matchup, and Gamrot just coming in off 10 days and going against a killer like Jalen Turner. Gamrot did get the decision win. A lot of the judges gave round 1 to Turner, rounds 2 and 3 to Gamrot, and I can't really disagree with that one. Gamrot used his grappling and got the win. It wasn't a pretty performance, wasn't one we're going to be writing home about, but there were some good moments, and Gamrot ends up getting the decision, so can't be mad there, and excited to see what's next for both of those guys. Jalen Turner's stock doesn't fall it off because that was a short notice fight that a lot of people wouldn't have blamed him if he had declined it. So just one of those things. It'll be interesting to see what's next for those guys, though. Fight of the night after that, we had Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Jeff Neal. And Jeff Neal looked very good for a guy that missed weight by 4 pounds. And a lot of us were kind of, what's going on here? What happened? Is there some health issues rearing their ugly head again with Jeff Neal? And I don't know what it was. I saw him that night before the fight. He looked great, looked in great spirits, and was telling people he was going to pull it off. And he got very close. He was rocking Shavkat several times on the feet. But Shavkat used the knees to the body beautifully, used those to his favor, along with the striking was very good from both guys. All out war of a fight. And Shavkat ends up getting the third round submission with the choke. Oh my goodness, got it done. Very clean. Standing, wrapped the leg. I don't know if it was a bulldog, if it was a rear naked, how you guys want to quantify it, but it was awesome nonetheless. And Jeff Neal is a dog. His stock did not drop at all. And Dana White, for the first time ever, paid a fighter who missed weight a bonus, and we all know that never happens. So that was very impressive there by both guys, and just a performance that had the crowd rolling. So very excited on that one, and it kind of segued perfectly into the co-main event, where we had the upset, one of the bigger upsets we've had in a while, where a lot of us love Alexa Grasso, knew she was a good fighter. None of us really saw her beating Valentina Shevchenko, and she did. She went out there. The standing was actually pretty comparable. For Alexa was tagging her several times, laying some clean 1-2s. We know Alexa has phenomenal boxing. And in the second round, though, Valentina was using the takedowns well, using the ground and pound. She got crucifix at one point. I can't remember if it was in the second or the third. Things kind of blur together when you're there. But Valentina looked very good until she didn't. In the fourth round, she goes to throw a spinning attack, and Alexa Grasso hops on the back immediately and then gets it down, gets the back on the canvas, locks in the choke. I don't know if you guys saw the picture and the difference in coloration from where Alexa's arms were and the rest of Valentina's head. It was sick. Oh my goodness. That squeeze has to be something crazy from Alexa Grasso. So very impressive performance by her. She shocked the world as a plus 600 underdog, gets it done, and you can't help but be very happy for her. Mexico has now got 2 undisputed champs and 1 interim champ, along with a PI being built there. So a lot of big things coming up in the future for Mexican MMA. And after all that, go to the main event. I mean, I had a smile on my face. Even now, I can't help but smile thinking about it. I knew John was going to win. I bet a lot of money that John was going to win. I did not think he'd make it look that easy, even though he had said all week, I'm going to make it look that easy. I've said it before, I'll say it again. John shows up best when the lights are the brightest. He has this tendency to fight to the level of his competition, where if he's not motivated by you, if he doesn't see anything from you that's going to push him, He's not going to have his best performance. He's going to go out there and coast. But he was very motivated coming into this one. Gets the first round submission via guillotine up against the fence, just flawless. And you got to have a lot of strength to pull it off in that angle. Gets the win, calls out Stipe Miocic. So a lot of awesome stuff there, guys. I mean, I just, the moment was electric. That arena was wild. Once he got it done, pretty much everyone in there was betting on Bones. So we were all very excited. We all won some money. So not much else to say about it other than that. He will be fighting Stipe next. I think he beat Stipe. And what he did last night, like I said earlier in the video, John was already the GOAT. But what he did was made it to where you can't even have a conversation anymore. Here's everybody else: GSP, Anderson, Demetrius Johnson, all those guys. Here's John Jones. He just put himself on a whole nother level to where you can't even have an argument about it anymore. Most title defenses, most title wins. Now goes after 3 years off, gets a belt in the second weight class. There's no denying it. So it was an awesome weekend, guys. I had the time of my life. Glad I got to witness the GOAT live. When I was telling family, friends that aren't big into MMA here, when they were asking, why are you so excited about this fight? I said, this is the equivalent of watching Tom Brady win that Super Bowl in Tampa. This is the equivalent of Michael Jordan coming back from baseball and three-peating. This was the greatest of all time going out and just proving without a shadow of a doubt why he is what he is. And it was awesome to see from John Jones. He was in Vegas, didn't get into any trouble, and it was one of the best weekends of my life. So I can't wait for next week's card. We got Piotr Jan versus Merab Dvalishvili. A lot of great fights there. Nikita Krylov, Superman Span, Volkov versus Romanov. So I'll be breaking down that fight with you guys later on this week. And peep my YouTube shorts and stuff. I'll be posting multiple videos about my trip this last weekend. Have a good one, guys.